Hey, how you doing? It's Addict Kent with you here, and we're looking at step 2. Step 1 is we admitted we were powerless over our addiction and our lives had become unmanageable. We came to believe that our life was messed up, and it is screwed up, man, and I screwed it up wrongly. So how do we fix that? We start by taking step 1. Step 1 is we admitted we're powerless over our addiction and our lives have become unmanageable. Step 2 is we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Isn't it neat to know that there's something stronger than our stupid addiction? You know, that filthy, disgusting, vile, putrid hell on earth. There's something greater than it, and we're going to find it together. Our surrender in the first step leaves us in a deep need to believe that we can recover. This surrender makes it possible for us to feel hope again. By admitting our powerlessness, we open our minds up to an eternally new idea, the possibility that something greater than ourselves might be able to powerful enough to relieve our obsession to our drugs. It is quite likely that before coming to NA, we never believed in any power but our own willpower, and that had filled us. NA introduces us to a new understanding. We draw hope from this understanding and begin to comprehend what it means to believe in a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. We find additional hope by listening to other recovering addicts. We can relate to where they've been and draw hope from who they've become. We listen closely at meetings and become willing to apply what we hear in our lives. We begin to believe that there is hope for us. We also begin to trust the process of recovery. Our white booklet states, there is one thing more than anything else in this recovery to feed us from our recovery. That is an attitude of indifference towards spiritual principles. 3 of these that are indispensable are honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. With these, we are well on our way. This doesn't mean that we must unfathomably honest, open-minded, and willing. It's a step process. You can't get there, easy. It takes time. We just have to try as best we can to practice these principles. At first, we approach step 2. We can practice the principles of honesty and acknowledge and sharing what we do or don't believe about a power greater than ourselves. Depending on our open-mindedness, requires some effort. But we can practice this principle by listening to other recovering addicts share how they came to believe. For many of us, the willingness to try something new came about simply because we were so tired of our old ways. It seemed to us that because our own power wasn't sufficient to restore us to sanity, perhaps something else could, if we let it. Isn't that a cool concept? I got up, I used. Even before my feet hit the ground, I used. Okay? I had to use to get it going. Then I had to use in the day. Then I had to use at night. Then I had to use in the evening. Then I had to use to go to sleep. It was ridiculous. It was a relentless, constant battle to not feel. It's so much better to feel. Yeah, sometimes it sucks, but you know what? It's great to know that we have that life. You know? Many of us felt that insanity was too harsh a word to describe our condition. However, if we take a realistic look at our active addiction, we will see that we have been anything but sane. For the most part, our predictions were not based on reality. We viewed the world around us as hostile environment. They hate us, everybody hates us, nobody loves us, nobody cares about us, I'm the only one that cares about me, yada yada crap. Yada yada crap. Yada yada crap. Yada yada crap. What a bunch of horse hooey. What a bunch of fooey. Seriously. Some of us risked through physically and had little, if any, contact with anyone. Some of us went through the motions of life, but allowed nothing to touch us emotionally. Think about that for a second. How many of your exes did you tell them you loved, but you didn't really care about for some reason? Something they did, something they said, but you stuck with it because it was good for the penis, right? Senseless, isn't it? Either way, we ended up feeling isolated, despite evidence of the contrary. We felt that we were in control. We ignored or didn't believe that the truths that were staring us in the face. Can't see the forest for the trees. I'm sure you've heard that one before. We continued to do the same things and expecting different results to be different. How many times did I do that? Oh, it'll be different this time. Oh, it'll be different this time. Never the different, never different, never. Worst of all was the fact that we continued to use drugs, regardless of the negative consequences we experienced. Despite the warning signs of our drug use, we were out of control. We continued trying to justify it all too often. The result was what we would no longer face ourselves. When we take a realistic look at our lives, there we can be no doubt that we were desperately in need of restitution to sanity. This is where it begins. This is where it begins. October 21st. God's will today. The decision demands continuous acceptance, everlasting faith, and daily commitment to recovery. That's in IP 14, One Addict's Experience. I recommend that you get all the IPs because they're only a small little blurb, only about 5 or 6 paragraphs, so it's really easy to concentrate on. Sometimes we rely life, the third step, and it's great. We don't regret the past. We aren't afraid of the future. We are generally pleased with the present. Sometimes, though, we lose our vision of God's will for our lives. Many of us dreamed of easing the mistakes out of our past, but the past cannot be erased. Many of us are grateful this is so, for our past experiences have brought us to recovery we enjoy today. By working the program, we can learn to accept the past and recall ourselves by admitting our wrongs. Those same 12 steps help us eliminate our worries over the future. The practice of NA principles on a daily basis is our efforts. We can leave the results up to our God. It seems as though our members with the strongest faith are the ones with the best able to live in the present moment. Enjoyment, acceptance, and gratitude for the quality of our lives. These are the result of faith in life itself. When we practice principles of our program, today is the only day we need. Just for today, I will make the most of today and trust that yesterday and tomorrow are in God's care. You know, if you've never read it, I recommend you read the book, Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. Or the poem, sorry. Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow. It's really cool. It's really awesome. So, how do we do that? Well, we're going to look at that in a minute. Now we're going to read the AA for the day. Oh boy. Nothing grows in the dark. Ain't that the truth? We will want the good that is in all of us, even in the worst of us, to a flower and to grow. With the self-discipline and insight gained from practicing step 10, I begin to know the grateful nations of sobriety, not as mere abstinence from alcohol, but as recovery from every department of my life. In renewed hope, regenerated faith, and regain the dignity of self-respect, I discover the word and the phrase, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Restituted that I am no longer always wrong, I learned to accept myself as I am. The new sense of the miracles of sobriety and serenity. Now, you may find something in your life that is that. But I assure you, there's nothing better than God. This is a good book to get. Faith to Faith. It's by Kenneth Copeland. Kenneth and Gloria Copeland. It's really good. I happened to pick it up on the fridge. It was there for the taking, so I took it. Content prosperity. Deuteronomy 8, verse 18. But thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is gathereth thee power to get wealth, and may establish his covenant. What is God's reason for prospering his people? If it is so, can watch bigger TV so we can buy finer homes and more luxurious cars, establish God's covenant on the earth and given to those in need? These are God's promises of prosperity. I have had some people tell me, well, brother Copeland, Jesus' minister was poor and he got along just fine. That's ridiculous. All the way through the Old Testament, God promised material blessings to anyone who would walk perfectly and upright before him. If God had filled to bless Jesus financially, he would have been breaking his own word. Jesus never built a worldly empire for himself. But that doesn't mean he was poor. It means he was the greatest giver who ever walked on the face of the earth. As it's about time we strive following his footprints of the needs of people's pocketbooks will be far more likely to win their hearts. What do you think will happen to the heart of a starved nation when they bring a 747 full of food, clothes, and medical supplies to them in the name of Jesus and his love? The hearts of those people are going to soften. They're going to be willing to listen to what we have to say about Jesus. Don't ever let anyone tell you it's wrong to want prosperity. It's wrong for you to not want to prosper, when prosperity can bring the difference between heaven and hell for millions of people. Forget what your own little needs. Rise your vision and set mind on giving to met someone else's, on establishing God's covenant in the earth. Then stand fast in faith and get ready to enjoy the greatest prosperity you have ever known. So true. It's so true. I may not have much worldly, according to the world, but what I have is a flock like you, who stands with me, though cyberbullied, though picked on, mocked at, made fun of. You don't turn your back on me. That's true love. That's true Christianity, in my opinion. That's what it's all about. May God go with you and be with you in all your day. God bless.